Welcome. Enjoy a bold new take on book coverage with this extended analysis. It's more than just a summary, though we do include that too. This feature really looks at how the author shapes their argument, how they build influence and earn or maybe lose your trust.
Right. It gives you the tools to read with, well, sharper insight, greater discernment.
Exactly. Should you read this book? This should definitely help. And it's also excellent for aspiring writers.
Definitely. And if you find this expanded format valuable, please let us know. Your feedback really helps guide what we do next.
Okay, so today we're diving into the really astonishing, enduring power of Viktor Frankl's man's search for meaning. It's quite something. Think about the paradox here for a second. How can a book that talks about the systematic dehumanization, the profound suffering of the Holocaust, how can that also be one of the most influential, most uplifting, hope-filled books of the 20th century?
That is the puzzle, isn't it? The rhetorical puzzle we want to explore. It's a work that somehow takes the deepest trauma imaginable and transforms it into this universal, actionable wisdom.
So our mission today is to analyze how that argument is constructed.
Exactly. The structural, the logical, the emotional strategies Frankl used to make his message resonate so powerfully for so long.
Right. And before we get into Frankl's specific techniques, just a quick acknowledgement for you listening. You are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
Okay, so the whole persuasive power of man's search for meaning, it's really built on Frankl's unique position, what rhetoricians call ethos, his credibility.
His credibility, yeah. He's fundamentally different because he has this dual identity, doesn't he?
He does. He was a professional neurologist and psychiatrist.
Right.
But he also endured 3 years from 1942 to 1945 in Nazi concentration camps.
And that combination, that fusion, that seems key to the whole book's acceptance.
Absolutely. He isn't just a survivor recounting trauma, which would give him immense moral authority on its own.
Sure.
And he isn't just a clinician theorizing about resilience from the outside.
He's both. He's the trained observer who actually lived through the very thing he's analyzing.
Precisely. So he gets scientific credibility, rooted in observation, and the undeniable moral authority of a witness. And what's really crucial here, Frankl had already developed the core ideas of logotherapy before he was imprisoned.
Oh, that's interesting. So he wasn't just making it up after the fact based on his experience.
No, not at all. He was essentially testing his existing hypothesis in the most brutal, controlled laboratory you could possibly imagine.
Wow. A framework that survived the worst possible test.
Exactly. His experience didn't just inspire the theory, it validated it. And this dual ethos, this credibility from both sides, allows him to speak to everyone, the general reader, the trauma survivor, and the academic mental health professional, all at once.
Okay, let's talk about the circumstances of its creation,
Yeah.
the exigence, the driving force behind it. This wasn't some memoir written 40 years later, looking back comfortably.
No, far from it. It was written in 1946, immediately after his liberation.
Right after.
And that timing is fundamental to its purpose. Think about it. Post-World War II, the world was reeling, just grappling with this unprecedented suffering, the scale of human atrocity.
There was a desperate need, wasn't there, for, well, philosophical and psychological tools to even process it, to rebuild hope.
A desperate global need. So Frankl's audience, they weren't just looking for historical documentation. They were searching for a way forward, a blueprint for recovery almost.
Which meant he had to deliver more than just a diary. He couldn't just recount events.
Exactly right. His purpose was profound. He wanted to demonstrate, definitively, that even in circumstances designed to systematically crush the human spirit, meaning could be found, meaning could be asserted.
He was offering an answer to the despair, the nihilism gripping post-war Europe.
A therapeutic answer, yes. And this brings us to a really interesting rhetorical strategy he uses, his clinical restraint.
Yes, when you read the first part, the camp section, his tone is very measured, almost detached, describing these horrors. Isn't there a risk there? That the restraint makes it feel cold or lessens the emotional impact? How does he avoid that?
Well, it's a calculated risk, I think, but one that ultimately pays off by reinforcing his authority, his ethos.
How so?
If he'd gone for, raw, unbridled, emotional recounting of trauma, the reader might just file it away as a historical document of suffering. A very powerful one, but still.
Just a record of awfulness.
Right. But by maintaining that detached stance, the demeanor of a neurologist, he reinforces his role as a credible scientific observer. He's not just venting pain. He's presenting systematic data on the human response to extremity.
So the measured tone basically signals to the reader, this is truth, objective observation, not just raw feeling.
It shifts the focus
From
from pure victimhood to analysis.
Yeah.
And that establishes the narrative part as the foundation, the evidence, for the logical argument that comes next.
Which leads us right into the structure, the logos, the logic of his arguments.
This is where it really shines.
The book is deliberately split in two, isn't it? Part 1, the chronological camp account. Part 2, the systematic presentation of his theory, logotherapy, why that specific order, memoir then manual.
It's quite brilliant structurally. Think about it. If he had led with logotherapy, this new existentialist psychological theory, it might have been dismissed. Just another academic idea, perhaps.
Right, maybe seen as abstract or unproven.
Exactly. But by starting with the memoir, he anchors the entire theoretical discussion in this undeniable, brutal, empirical reality he just described. Part 1 builds the credibility,
Establishes the foundation.
and Part 2 provides the application. The theory is, in a way, literally proven by the events that came right before it in the book.
The theory carries so much more weight because you, the reader, know it was forged right there in the concentration camps.
Precisely.
Okay, let's formally introduce that theoretical foundation then. Logotherapy. It's a term many people probably encounter for the first time reading this book.
It is. Logotherapy is often called the third Viennese school of psychotherapy. It came after Freud's psychoanalysis and Adler's individual psychology.
Okay.
Put simply, it's therapy through meaning. Frankl argued that our primary motivation as humans isn't pleasure like Freud thought or power like Adler suggested, but rather this striving to find meaning in one's life.
A search for meaning.
Yes. And the logical progression from there is, if suffering is inevitable, which it often is, then the search for meaning within that suffering becomes the key to endurance, to survival even.
That systematic approach gives the reader a really clear path. He goes from observing prisoner behavior, noticing patterns, who survived, who gave up directly to constructing this theoretical framework.
And the claims are always grounded in observable human responses he witnessed. It's not just abstract theorizing.
He also brings in philosophy to ground it, right? There's that very powerful quote he uses early on.
Oh, yes. He brings in the intellectual heavy artillery, you might say, with Nietzsche's principle.
Yeah.
He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow.
That one line, it feels like the entire scaffold for his argument rests on it.
It really does. It elevates the discussion from just a psychiatric theory to something more like a universal philosophical truth about existence itself.
And what's really effective is how he takes that sort of lofty philosophical idea and breaks it down. He makes it practical.
Absolutely. He doesn't just leave you with the abstraction. He systematizes it through logotherapy's core principles, identifying concrete sources of meaning.
Which are?
Primarily 3. Meaning derived from work, or doing something significant, meaning derived from love, experiencing beauty or connecting with another person, and, perhaps most radically, meaning derived from suffering itself.
Okay, before we really dig into those, especially the suffering part, just a quick note for everyone reflecting on these ideas. We encourage you to check out Mindful Moments. That's our YouTube channel offering AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques. Great for inspiring reflection and rational thought.
A good resource.
So, diving back in. Let's focus on the logic behind suffering as a source of meaning, because that's probably the most counterintuitive idea for many people today.
It really is. And it's arguably the pinnacle of his logos, his logical argument. Frankl argues that when work, creative effort, and love connection, beauty are stripped away completely, as they were in the camps,
When everything external is gone.
the final freedom left, the only freedom sometimes, is the ability to choose one's attitude towards that unavoidable suffering.
Ah, the internal choice.
Exactly. And in making that choice, in choosing dignity or compassion or courage despite the suffering itself ceases to be just meaningless pain. It becomes an opportunity for, well, a kind of achievement. It generates meaning.
So he reframes suffering. It's not just a passive thing happening to you, but potentially an active achievement of the human spirit.
Precisely. He frames it as a challenge to be met. It's not about the suffering itself, but the internal response to it. That's what makes the whole concept logical, even within the extreme context he's describing.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to pathos, the emotional strategy. We talked about his clinical restraint, that measured tone, but the book is still incredibly moving, deeply emotional for the reader. So how does he generate that powerful emotion without just relying on graphic descriptions of trauma?
It's what you might call strategic pathos. Very carefully managed emotional appeal. He generally avoids overwhelming you with constant scenes of horrific violence or death. Instead, he relies on these meticulously selected anecdotes, little stories that prove his thesis emotionally.
Small, potent flashes of humanity, I mean.
Exactly that. Small moments that land with huge impact.
Like the part where he clings to the image of his wife. Why is that specific anecdote so effective, do you think?
Well, it emotionally reinforces the logotherapy principle of finding meaning through love. Perfectly. He describes talking to her and his believing he saw her smile, even though he had no idea if she was even alive.
Right.
That internal connection, that devotion, it wasn't a delusion, it was an act of will. A choice to find meaning in that memory, in that love. And that internal act is far more inspiring and frankly more transferable to the reader's own life than just another description of a beating would be.
It shows that the human spirit can create this internal sanctuary, a place the guards, the barbed wire, the suffering, none of it can actually touch.
Yes. And similarly, that anecdote about finding beauty in a sunset seen over the camp fence, that's pure emotional proof of his point.
How so?
It demonstrates the prisoner's ability to transcend their immediate horrific reality. It's an assertion of human choice, the choice to perceive beauty over appalling external conditions. These moments evoke profound emotions in the reader. Hope, awe, a sense of dignity.
Rather than just trauma or pity.
Exactly. This approach secures your emotional investment, makes you feel the truth of his ideas without derailing the intellectual rigor of the logotherapy concepts he's building.
The language itself seems to support this balance too, doesn't it? The prose has that remarkable restraint, that clinical precision we mentioned, but it still feels universally accessible.
He really achieved a difficult rhetorical balance there. The simple, direct language in part one, the narrative part, makes it accessible to a huge general audience. Anyone can read and understand it. But then the strategic use of some academic terminology in part two ensures it retained intellectual seriousness. It appeals to psychiatric professionals, academics. He manages to speak to both the heart and the mind, often at the same time.
So the core actionable principle, the thing that really cemented the book's influence, that transforms it from just a historical document into a practical, almost therapeutic guide, it's his emphasis on choice.
Absolutely. This is the quote that echoes through generations, the one everyone remembers. The articulation of that ultimate freedom. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances.
That's the takeaway. That's the line that resonates with everyone, whether they're facing something truly horrific like Frankl did, or just dealing with the everyday struggles of modern life.
It provides an immediate, actionable principle. It's about self-empowerment. It's a call to recognize your own agency no matter what.
And that universality, that direct applicability, surely explains the book's phenomenal success. Over, number 10 million copies sold in 24 languages.
It has to be a major factor. Its enduring power comes from this really sophisticated rhetorical integration. Frankl used his unique, unparalleled ethos to anchor an undeniable memoir.
Oh yeah, witness expert.
He built a logical framework, the logos of logotherapy, that was rigorously tested in the most extreme conditions.
Proven in the crucible.
And he delivered it all with these strategic emotional appeals, the pathos, that inspire you rather than just traumatize you.
It really is a masterclass in taking personal catastrophe and transforming it into universal instruction. A lesson for humanity.
Man's search for meaning works on so many levels at once. Historical document, therapeutic manual, profound philosophical treatise. It's all in there.
It's just a testament to the power of structure, persuasion, and finding the right way to convey the deepest human truths.
Well said.
Which I suppose leaves us with a final provocative thought, something for you to reflect on regarding Frankl's work today. If meaning, if hope, if internal freedom could be found and chosen even in the concentration camps of World War II, what might we be neglecting to see? What opportunities for meaning might we be overlooking in the unavoidable struggles and stresses of our own, complex, yet often fundamentally privileged modern lives?
That is a question worth considering as you navigate your own challenges.
Indeed. Click the link on screen for the in-depth book summary. Subscribe, share, purchase via the link, and always think rationally.
And see the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.